This is your NHL and MHL playoff schedule on After the Puck Drops. Starting with the Maritime Hockey League, it is the finals between the Pictou County Crushers and Edmundston Blizzard, as the first game goes tonight in Edmundston at 7:30, followed by Game 2 tomorrow night in Edmundston at 7:30, and then Games 3 and 4 will go in Pictou back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday, both at 7 p.m. And then if needed, Game number 5 would be in Edmundston at 7:30 on the 26th. Game number 6 would be in Pictou on the 28th at 7, and if necessary, on the 30th, game number 7 would be back in Edmundston at 7:30 p.m. Changing to the NHL playoffs now. In the NHL playoffs, Game 1 is set between the Jets and Blues in Winnipeg tomorrow at 7 p.m. Tomorrow it is the Avalanche and Stars in Dallas at 9:30 p.m. And on Sunday, there are 3 games on the schedule. New Jersey is in Carolina Game 1 at 4 p.m. Ottawa is in Toronto for Game 1 at 8 p.m. And the nightcap, it is the Minnesota Wild and Vegas Golden Knights at 11 o'clock p.m. On Monday, there are 4 games on the schedule. It is the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals Game 1 in Washington at 8 p.m. St. Louis and Winnipeg Game number 2 at 8:30. Avalanche and Stars Game number 2 at 10:30. And Oilers and Kings Game 1 at 11 p.m. And on Tuesday night, there are 3 games on the schedule. It is New Jersey and Carolina Game number 2 at 7 p.m. The Ottawa and Toronto Game number 2 at 8:30 p.m. And the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning Game number 1 at 9:30 p.m. Well, on Wednesday night, it will be Vegas hosting Minnesota Game number 2 at 12 a.m. Montreal will be in Washington for Game number 2 at 8 p.m. The Avalanche will be hosting the Stars for Game number 3 at 10:30 p.m. Well, the Oilers and Kings will play Game number 2 at 11 p.m. And on Thursday, there are 4 games on the schedule. It is the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning Game number 2 at 7:30 p.m. Ottawa and Toronto Game number 3 at 8 p.m. Vegas and Minnesota Game number 3 at 10 p.m. and Winnipeg and St. Louis Game number 3 at 10:30 p.m. And on Friday, there will be 3 games on the schedule. It will be the Capitals traveling to Montreal for Game number 3 at 8 p.m. New Jersey hosting Carolina Game number 3 at 9 p.m. And the nightcap, Edmonton will be hosting LA for Game number 3 at 11 p.m. And on Saturday, there are 4 games on the schedule. It will be the Tampa Bay Lightning headed to Sunrise, Florida to take on the Panthers at 2 p.m. and Game number 4 between Vegas and Minnesota at 5 p.m. Game number 4 between Toronto and Ottawa in Ottawa at 8 p.m. Game number 4 against Dallas and Colorado at 10:30 p.m. And then on Sunday, it will be the Jets in St. Louis for Game number 4 at 2 p.m. The Hurricanes will be in New Jersey for Game number 4 at 4:30 p.m. While the Canadiens will be hosting the Capitals for Game number 4 at 7:30 p.m. And it will also be Edmonton hosting the LA Kings for Game number 4 in Edmonton at 10:30 p.m. And Game number 4 between Tampa Bay and Florida will go Monday the 28th. Time is yet to be decided. Game number 5 will go in Dallas between the Avalanche and Stars. Game number 5 between Minnesota and Vegas. And on Tuesday, there could be 4 potential games. Minnesota and Vegas could have a Game 5. New Jersey, Carolina could have a Game 5. Edmonton, LA could have a Game 5. Ottawa and Toronto could potentially have a Game 5 in Toronto. And then on Wednesday, it could potentially be the Canadiens in Washington for Game number 5. Florida could be in Tampa for Game number 5. St. Louis could be in Winnipeg for Game 5. And then on Thursday, May 1st, it could be Toronto at Ottawa for Game number 6. Dallas could be in Colorado for Game 6. Vegas could be in Minnesota for Game number 6. LA would make the trip to Edmonton for Game number 6. Well, on Friday, it could be the Jets making the trip to St. Louis for Game 6. Capitals would make the trip to Montreal for Game number 6. The Hurricanes could travel to New Jersey for Game 6, and the Lightning could travel to Florida for Game number 6. And potential Game 7s for May 3rd and May 4th. It could be the Avalanche traveling to Dallas, the Oilers would be in LA, Minnesota would be in Vegas, Ottawa would be in Toronto, Toronto. New Jersey would be in Carolina. Florida would be in Tampa. St. Louis would be in Winnipeg for Game 7. And Montreal would be in Washington for Game number 7 on May 4th. And that is your NHL and MHL playoff preview on After the Puck Drops.